We're ready to get started. So let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Nathan T. Jenkins II, and I am the family financial advocate for Next Generation Gear Up. And so what we wanted to do on this evening is that we wanted to have a workshop for our students and our parents in regards to military success and career success. Because what we wanted to do is every month we have a workshop where we're talking about different topics. And this one, we wanted to focus a little bit more on careers, solely because a lot of times when we are dealing with our students in high school, we typically will kind of focus on college. And so with Next Generation Gear Up, our ethos and our mission is to make sure that all of our students have information regarding college, career, and military readiness. And so I have a gentleman on the line that I have the opportunity to meet so far, and I have enjoyed the conversation that we've had to this point. But this is Mr. Anthony Schmucker, and he is with an organization that I think is going to be really great. And I'm hoping that a lot of our parents and students will take the opportunity to go to the website as well as get some information, and hopefully they will be able to take the information that they receive and apply it towards their careers going forward. He is a member and an employee of the ASVAB Career Exploration Program. And so he's going to talk to us a little bit about what the ASVAB is, and as well as other career opportunities, not just in the military, but outside of the military as well. So with that being said, Mr. Schmucker, you take it away. Feel free to express yourself and do whatever. This is your workshop. So I want you to lead it and facilitate it however you see fit. And again, I'm going to monitor the chat. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you put it in the chat, and myself and Ms. Johnson will be monitoring that. And so we'll pause him so that we can ask that question, and I'm sure you'll get the answer that you look. So thank you guys, and Mr. Schmucker, you take it away.
All right, well, thank you. Yes, so the ASVAB Career Exploration Program. So before anybody gets worried, it's 100% free. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything, okay? Your tax dollars pay for this program. It is a federal program. I'm a federal employee. I am not a military recruiter. There's no obligation to join the military or talk to anybody from the military by participating in this program. And it is just an option for you to explore along with many of the other options that we present. So in the chat, I'm going to put our website, asvabprogram.com. So this is our primary website that we use for our program. And just to kind of give you an overview, the ASVAB stands for Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. This is the test that you take if you want to qualify to get into the military. So what's the difference between us and going to see a military recruiter? Good question. You can go take the ASVAB to a military recruiter. You can get all the scores that you need to join the military and pursue that route. If you take the test with us, you get those same scores. In addition, you're going to get some career exploration scores, verbal, math, science, and technical. You're going to get those scores as percentile scores, comparing you to everybody else in your grade level, broken down by gender and combined. And you're going to get some standard scores and standard score bands. And one of the things that we do is we come back, if invited, and go over the results with the students and lead them to a career exploration program. And during that time, we explain what all these scores mean and how to use them in selecting careers. And basically what we're doing is identifying areas of strength, areas of possible improvement, and giving you a snapshot in time of where you currently are so that you can use that in determining which careers best fit your skills or which skills you need to concentrate on to be successful in the careers that you choose. And I'm going to kind of touch on how we do all of this here in a minute, but I am going to start off with the military aspect of it. So another difference between taking it with a recruiter and taking it with the ASVAB Career Exploration Program is with a recruiter, you're going to take a computer-based test. Now, there's a couple different ways that you do this. You can take it as a PICAT, which means you come at the recruiter's office, and if you score well enough, then you're awarded another test to take. It's called a verification test, where you're going to go to downtown Dallas, right across from Dealey Plaza. You may have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, to get there on time. You may have to wait around for a few hours before it's your turn. and you're going to take another computer test. Now this one's only, about 20, 30 minutes long, but we're not looking at how many right or wrong answers you get per se. What we're looking at is, are you getting the same ratio of correct answers for the same types of questions that you got when you took the PICAT? And if you do, then whatever that score that you received at the recruiter's office or at home, you can use that to join the military. If you don't, then you get to start the whole test all over again as soon as you finish that PICAT, and that test is 3 hours long. So if you're not expecting that, that can be a little bit of a surprise. And of course, we have our 10% random sample where it doesn't matter what you score on the verification test, you're going to retake the full test again. So stressful, not the best testing environment per se, but it is an option. With our program, you're going to take the test at your school during school hours in an environment you're familiar with. You're going to get up at the same time in the morning that you always get up to go to school. You're going to go to the same place that you go every day for school. And we're going to come out, we're going to provide all the test materials, and the test administrator administer the test. It is 3 hours long, but it's a paper and pencil test. Or if the school chooses for small groups, we do have a computer-based test. Do the paper and pencil test if you're looking for a good score though, because it's easier to work through the paper and pencil test. Within the test itself, there are 8 primary sections that you're going to be tested on. It's going to be general science, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, mathematics knowledge, arithmetic reasoning, electronics information, mechanical comprehension, and auto and shop. And each section is individually timed. With the paper and pencil test, within that prescribed time, you can skip a question and go back. On a computer-based test, you cannot skip a question and go back. You can skip it, you just can't go back. And so there are some advantages to the computer-based tests. There's some disadvantages to the paper and pencil test, but overall, what we find is you tend to do a little bit better with the paper and pencil test because it's just a better way to test. It's a better testing environment at the school than going downtown Dallas to take a computer-based test. And you'll get all those additional scores, tools, and resources that I'm going to point out to you after a while. Our program's a little bit different in that sophomores can participate in our program, whereas you have to be 17, a junior, in order to go take the test with a recruiter. And at 17, you do need parental consent. With our program, whatever your school's policies are with consent, we show up, and if your school says that the student can take the test, then we allow them to take the test as long as they're a sophomore, junior, or senior. Now, the sophomores cannot use their scores to join the military. They are using it primary for career exploration. But if they're interested in the military, hey, they get a free shot at the test without having to worry about it because they can't use it. So if they don't do well, they have time to do better. Or if they do well, when they take it for real for the military, there's less stress because they already know they achieved a qualifying score. The scores are valid for 2 years from the date you take the test, whether you take it through a recruiter or you take it through our program. And those are for juniors and seniors. Qualifying scores, that you really have to talk to a recruiter because they can and do change from time to time, and every service sets their own minimum score requirement. Generally, though, you want a 31 or above as your Afqt score. And if you have a 31 or above, you will probably qualify for the military service. Now, you may qualify for every branch with a 31, but you should qualify for 1 and 2 at least. Ideally, you want a 50 or above. A 50 or above puts you in a higher tier, and you'll have more options and opportunities. But if you wanted to join the Army and you scored a 32, you could qualify to get into the Army. And we'll talk about qualifying for jobs here in just a minute. Now, the test itself, when we talk about the Afqt, it has 8 sections, but only 4 of those are used for the military entrance score, the Afqt score, and that is your math and verbal. So arithmetic reasoning, mathematics knowledge, word knowledge, and paragraph comprehension. So those are the ones that are used to calculate that score. Once you have a qualifying score, there are going to be some additional scores called line scores or composite scores that the military uses to qualify people for jobs. Now, it doesn't matter if it is a infantryman, a cook, x-ray tech, a medic, a dental hygienist. All of the jobs in the military have a set of these line scores that they look at to qualify. And they could be a little bit different from job to job, and all the required scores are going to be a little bit different as well. So let me kind of give you an example. If you have two different jobs in the military, one of the scores they commonly look at is the general technical. So for one job, the minimum score might be 100. For another job, the minimum score might be 110. And if you have 105 GT score, well, you'll qualify for one, but you won't qualify for the other. And if you want the one with the higher score, you just have to practice and you can retake the test. And the reason they do this is because they use this test as a predictor of success, meaning that if you achieve the minimum scores they've set for the job in the appropriate skill categories, then they can predict that you have the ability to learn those skills at the appropriate level to be successful for that job. And that's what they want. They want to send you to training and they want you to graduate. They want you to go into your job and be successful. And so they look at your ability to learn those skills. And that's what this test is for. It's an aptitude test. Okay. What we use it for is a little different in the career exploration program. We're not going to tell someone they have to achieve a minimum to be successful in a particular job. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the importance of primary skills, and that is your math, your verbal, and your science and technical. And importance is determined by how many tasks you perform using that skill and how often you have to perform that task. The more tasks using math, the more often you perform those tasks, the more important math will be. And we have 3 levels: mostly, moderately, or least important. And so you can search for careers on our database and see how important math is. So if you're like me and math's not your friend, you're going to click on that column that says math is least important and look at those careers. But maybe math is your strength and you want to pursue that. So you could click on mostly important. Or perhaps you find a job, math is mostly important. Your skills aren't where they need to be. So now you know the area to focus on for improvement so that you can be successful in that job. And so that's kind of how we do it. We kind of use it as an indicator to point you in the direction of what to focus on in making some decisions. Okay, so that is sort of our program in a nutshell. What I'm going to do now is share my screen for ASVABprogram.com, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So 1 second here. Okay, everybody should be able to see ASVABprogram.com, see 3 stacks of books. If any of the monitors don't see that, just give me a shout out. Otherwise, I'll continue on. All right, so this is our primary website, ASVABprogram.com. And the way it looks now is the way it looks once this has taken the test and received their access code, which they use to create an account. These are those 3 career exploration scores that I was talking about. And if you click over here, you're going to see how it turns it into their numerical scores. This is just a quick sample report of the full test scores. So you see those percentile scores, you see those standard score bands on the right with the numerical standard scores. Here are the 8 individual test areas that we were talking about. There is one slight difference between our test and the one you take with Recruiter. It's called assembling objects. It's where you have to figure out how pictures of the objects go together. We don't use that. The military is kind of getting away from that. So that might be something that you see, but it doesn't play a big role. And then here's your military entrance score, your Afqt score. And when you click down here at Learn More, this is going to bring up another website called Careers in the Military. And we're going to give that a second to load. Sometimes it can be finicky. Okay. Everybody should see where it has each branch of service. And you click on the Army, and it shows me the line scores that, too far. It shows me the line scores that the student achieved down here. So here's that general technical. And it tells you the areas of the test that were used to calculate that score. So a lot of good information about a person's aptitude, where they stand on different line scores. So once they take the test with us, they have everything they need to walk into a recruiter's office and start talking about joining. Because If they have a qualifying score, they've just been pre-qualified. So they've never talked to a recruiter. They walk into the office with their scores, and the recruiter can tell them, all right, let's get you scheduled for a physical. Here are the jobs that we have available that you qualify for. Or, okay, we got some work to do, so let's figure out a plan to get you where you need to be. So it's a good pre-qualification tool. All right, so we're going to close this out. Careers in the Military is our sister website. Lots of good information about military careers, and we're going to touch on that here in a minute. So we're going to go back to our dashboard. Now, here's what really sets our program apart, okay? It's 1, 2, 3. So we have here the interest inventory. If you were to go out and purchase this yourself, you're going to pay anywhere from $35 to $100 per person. You get it free here. And what this is based on is John Holland's research on career and job satisfaction. And what you see here are some sample statements: attend an art class. And you either say, yeah, I think I would like to do that, or maybe, maybe not, I'm not sure, so I, or D for nope, I wouldn't like that at all. There are 90 statements that the students will go through. It will take them about 5 minutes. Once they finish, they are going to be able to see their interest codes. And so we're going to go through here real quick, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. You just go down here and you click all these little circles, answer the questions. I'm just going to kind of do it randomly. You know, I tell them that they only have 5 minutes to do this, and they all groan, but really it's only takes about 5 to 7 minutes to get through this when you actually think about it, because you're going with your first gut instinct. You're not in careers, you're not trying to only like those things that you think match certain careers. So a second here, make sure I answered everything. If not, it will tell me I missed a bunch here.
And while you're doing it, Mr. Schmucker, I have a question. So you said
Sure.
earlier that sophomores are able to take the exam. Now, those scores wouldn't be utilized for the military. However, how many times can you take the exam?
You can take the exam as many times as you need to. However, there are some time limitations. So if you go through a recruiter, you take the exam, you have to wait 1 calendar month before you can take it again. Then you take it a second time. You have to wait 1 calendar month before you can take it again. Then you go to take it a third time. You have to wait 6 calendar months before you can take it again. And then you want to take it again year before you can take it again. With our program, that's not monitored as much. So we don't come back and say, oh, you just took this last month. For your third time, you can't take it again. We really don't monitor it in our program that way, because these scores are not official until a recruiter puts in a request to make them official. It's called a high school pull. And so that's what makes this a great pre-qualification tool, is because you can walk into a recruiter's office, show them your scores, and if you didn't do well enough, it doesn't count against you. He can set you up like you've never taken it before and start from scratch. So there's one important thing that you have to know, and that is once you start using your official scores, they use the most recent score, not the highest. So if you scored well and then you think, well, I can do a little bit better, and then that particular day you don't feel well and you don't do as well, well, even though that score is lower than your last one, that's the one that you actually have to use. So it can get a little tricky when you take it multiple times, but you can take it as many times as you need to. Now, some recruiters will, you know, if it's your 4th or 5th time, they may decide that, you know what, they're going to move on to the next candidate. Whereas if you're doing this through the school, then they're a little bit more lenient on saying, you know what, we're going to do everything we can to get you where you need to be. And that's kind of the way we look at it. We don't really monitor those restrictions as much, okay? Because they're not official until the recruiter pulls them. All right, so once they finish, these are the results for the interest inventory. Now, right here, you're going to see the definition of those 6 interest codes. So briefly, you have realistic, which are doers, people like to work with their hands and objects; investigative, learners, learning new information, solving problems; artistic, creators, creating new things, being creative; social, helpers, helping people, working with people; enterprising, leaders, assuming leadership roles; and conventional, organizers, being detail oriented and organized. You know, I always tell parents, conventional is the easiest one to determine if your child is conventional or not. Just go look at their room and you can tell. Is it nice and neat and organized, or are you afraid to go in? If you're afraid to go, probably not very conventional, right? So here we have the results, and this gender specific is not trying to guide them to a gender stereotypical role. Like if they're a female, they're not saying, well, these are careers you need to pursue, or these are male careers you need to pursue. They're actually doing the opposite. And if you look right here, I scored high in social under gender specific. Now, a lot of social careers are primarily females, but because I scored high in social as a male, I might want to check out being a nurse, because that might be something I would enjoy. And if it's a female and they rated high and realistic, those are typically male-centric careers, and they might like being a race car driver or an auto mechanic or an engineer or whatever the case may be. And then gender combined just takes into consideration both of the genders. Once they have their codes, then they can search for careers that match their codes. And right here, we have those 6 interest codes. So I'm going to pick realistic and investigative. Those are the 2 that matched me. I don't like math. I'm going to choose math as my sort option. And then over here are some ways to narrow your results. These are filters and so forth. They are and, meaning if you choose more than one filter, your results will match every filter. So if a career doesn't match every filter, it's not going to show up. We won't choose anything right there. And we'll hit explore. So now they have a list of careers. They actually have 3 lists of careers. So math is mostly important for these careers, moderately important for these careers, and least important for these careers. And notice up here how each tab has several pages. So these are 3 separate lists. Now I don't like math, so we're going to go least important. They can save it to their favorites and so forth. They're listed alphabetically, but I'm going to go to Avionics Technician. I'm going to look at that career. So now I can find out about these careers. All right, so this tells me, a little bit about what they do, the interest codes that match it, the importance of all 3 skills. These right here are called work values, and work values are things that you find important in your job. So if you like a working environment where you have goals to achieve, you can exceed those and get recognized for achieving or exceeding those goals, then achievement might be one of your work values. And we actually have an exercise on our website that can find out what their work values are. And for this career, these are the 3 work values that are best suited for this career. And everywhere that we go throughout this website, you're going to see learn more, or you're going to see these little question marks that you can click on, and it'll bring up more information about the topic. As we go down, it's going to talk about education. So for Avionics Technician, 50% of people who work in this career field say you need at least a post-secondary certificate. 18% say you need a high school diploma. 12% some college. 16% associate's degree. 3% a bachelor's degree. So what this is telling me is 50% of people who actually work in this career field say you need at least a post-secondary certificate if you want to get hired in this job. Now, we don't focus on one pathway to a career. Not everybody's going to go to college. Not everybody's going to go to trade school. Not everybody's going to go to a technical school or industry specific school. Not everybody's going to do on-the-job training. And typically there's more than one pathway to reach a career goal. This is just one aspect of something that you need to know when you select a career. What type of education and training do I need for this particular career? And so if I'm not the kind of person that really likes to go to college, or I can't afford to go to college, I don't have to. You know, I can go to a community college. You know, I can come right out of high school and do some on-the-job training. About 18% of people say you can get hired that way. I can have a little bit of college, and each career is going to be different. So where am I going to go get some of this education and training? We're going to click on college info. This is a list of schools that have programs related to the occupation. And I know you see some of these are out of state and whatnot. So what we can do is, because moms and daddies, they don't like their kids to get too far away. Some of you be like, yeah, get on a bus and go as far away as you can. You can actually sort it by state. So we're going to go down here to Texas. So now these are Texas, Southwest Texas Junior College, and we've got the St. Philip's College and San Antonio, Texas State Technical College. So we're going to look at that one. So we can click on, and it gives us information about college and that school. They have 78% of students go back in the fall. So they're doing something right to go back. Let's see what else we, in-state tuition is, you know, about $5,800. They have certificates and associate's degrees. Here are some of the programs that they offer, right? And a link to that school's website to do further research. And so they may or may not have what you need. This is just a quick school search to kind of get started. And there will be different information here based on the school that you're looking at. It may tell you the acceptance rate. It may tell you the average ACT, SAT scores. It all depends on the school you're looking at. So we're going to go back to our career page. A little bit too far. So here we are, certificates, licenses, and apprenticeship. So these are additional resources for training and certifications that you can look at. Here you see the military emblems. And so all of these services have a job related to the one we're looking at, Avionics Technician. Oh, look at that. They got the Space Force, right? So if you click on these links, it's going to take you to careers in the military to these jobs. So we have Avionics Technician, aircraft mechanics, air crew members, electronics instruments. So this one sounds the most like it, Avionics Technician. And we'll give this a minute to load. And here it is. This is the military version of that job. Some information about it. What do they do? Training provided. All right. So now this aspect is still kind of being developed, and it's see my scores. So you notice the Marine Corps doesn't have that option yet. They haven't provided us with that information. But you know, let's go to the Army. See my scores. And here it says, for this job, the Army requires an electronics repair composite score of 93. That's that line score we were talking about. My score is a 50. Well, I got some work to do. I don't qualify for this job. I also need a mechanical maintenance score of 102. I need a, let's see here, electronics repair composite of 8. So it kind of gives you the scores required to qualify for this job. And so you can look at that and see if you qualify or not. And if you want to talk to somebody about it, you can contact a recruiter. So just a quick way to, you know, explore that option. So we're going to go back to our ASVAB page. Here's what gets a lot of people's attention, is what we're going to look at next. As we scroll down to the map of the United States. So high school kids have no clue how much money they need to make to support themselves. Sometimes, you know, they'll give me $10,000 a year. Sometimes they give me $1 million a month. But what I'm trying to stress here is whatever that number may be, $50,000 a year, $80,000 a year. Figure that out. How do you want to live your life? What's important to you? Are you a ramen noodles taking the bus kind of person, or are you flying first class, staying at 5-star hotels type person? This map gives you the average salary. So this is the average entry level salary for this job, $41,000. But let's take a look at the average salary, $69,000. So if I wanted to make $60,000 a year, then this would be a good job for me. If I wanted to make $5,000 a year, this is not a good job for me because most people are making $69,000. Once again, a little bit of information to help make that decision. And more details, we'll click here. And what this is telling me here is between 2019 and 2029, there is a 4.4% increase in the number of jobs out there. Now, these aren't jobs you can apply for. These are positions. So there's around 23,000 avionic technician jobs in the United States. And so it's growing at about 4.4%. It's good to know because that's not very many jobs across the United States. Some jobs are, 3,500. Some jobs are 3.5 million. So just another piece of information to help make a decision. Let's go ahead and scroll back down to the map. All right. So right down here on the right-hand side, we're going to start going back up. These are some additional tools and resources. The living wage calculator, that helps them figure out by county how much money they need to earn to barely get by. Ramen noodles, buying your clothes at Walmart, taking the bus to work, maybe splitting the rent with somebody. It's the bare minimum for the basic necessities. That's what a living wage is. The ONET online is more information about careers. So this link right here, march2success.com. If you are interested in the military and you need help getting your ASVAB scores higher, this is a free resource for you. I'm going to click on it real quick. You will see the Army all over it because they pay for it if it's going to load. We'll see if it loads here. But there's no obligation to join the military or talk to anybody from the military. They pay for the website, so they get to advertise on it. But it's a free test prep website. You will not see ASVAB on here anywhere. So it's not loading. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our ASVAB page. See if it loads in the background. If you are planning on going to college and you need help with your ACT or SAT, there are free full-length practice ACT and SAT tests on this website, March to Success. There's e-learning curriculum. Let's see if it loaded. It's thinking about it. There's other types of practice tests for other types of programs. There's some of the medical tests that you have to take on here as well. We don't own this website. The Army owns it. And if a school wants to get the expert in, that's John Turks. He works over in Irving, and I can get him out to your school to give you a class on how to use it. We have a link to the Khan Academy. We don't own that website either. Army Education Outreach, College Calculator, College Navigator, do more research on schools and training. So let's go back. Let's see, March to Success isn't going to load, so we're going to skip that for right now. FastWeb, parents would probably love this because that means that there's a possibility that you might not have to pay, right? Scholarships. So FastWeb is a free scholarship search engine. And we'll see if it's going to load here. I think we're having a little bit of connectivity issues. But FastWeb, you build your profile, you're accurate, honest, complete. Once you're done, it's going to give you a list of scholarships that you qualify to apply for. So let me give you some of the reasons students don't apply for scholarships. I don't know how. I don't know of any scholarships. Even if the counselor has sent out an email 2 hours before I talk to them with the list of scholarships, they still don't know about scholarships. All right. I'm not going to college. Well, you might change your mind. I don't qualify. Yeah, you do. Everybody qualifies to apply for a scholarship. There's lots of different reasons people can apply for scholarships. Are you really tall? Are you really short? Are you a natural redhead? Are you left-handed? Are you really good at academics, sports, music, art? Were you in foster care? Were you adopted? My wife joined the military in the state of Texas. My son, he's 8. He's got the Hazelwood Act that he can use. That's 150 semester hours to any Texas state school of tuition waiver. So that means I don't have to pay tuition for his bachelor's degree if he goes to a Texas state school, because my wife joined the military in Texas. Your ethnicity, you know, where do you get your electric from? You know, they may have scholarships for their customers. A lot of co-ops will do that. Where do you work? You know, the student, do they work at Walmart as a stocker or a cashier? Do they, you know, work at Amazon or Starbucks or Taco Bell? Do the parents work at some of these places? And, you know, all of these different employers offer money. The military offers all kinds of money for scholarships. But this takes about 20 minutes. They can fill this out and they'll see a list of scholarships that they qualify for. They can do a college search, FAFSA, financial aid, so forth and so on. So let's close that out. FAFSA. If your student is a senior and their senior year, it's October or later, they need to do this FAFSA application as soon as possible. The longer they wait, money that's going to be available if they qualify. So seniors, starting about October is when this opens up. You should have it done by the end of October. Get in front of the line. But there's a link straight to that website. Some additional information. I like this one, My Next Move. This is sort of a snapshot of this career with some important information for them to look at. So we'll give it a second to load here. You know, it's going to say, you know, some of the things that we've already looked at, but it just kind of gives them a quick snapshot looking at. All right. So here it is: knowledge, skills, and abilities, personality, technology that you'll probably need to use or know, education requirements, job outlook. All right. So there we are, about 67,000. All right. Additional careers that are related and so forth. So it's a good quick snapshot. And then they can, you know, get more information and so forth. So let's close that back out. Additional resources. I'm not going to show them all to you. Career One Stop. All right, everybody pay attention. 5 clicks here, I think. Career One Stop. Let's get this to load. So Career One Stop is another website with lots of good information, tools, and resources. I'm only going to show you really one of them, and it's the scholarship search engine. Let's get it to load here. All right, so you can search for a job, explore careers, find local help, toolkits, resources, check them out. But what I want to show you is find training. So this is number 2. Go to pay for training. That's number 3. Scholarships, that's number 4. We're going to click on that. Scholarship finder right here in the center of the page. That's number 5. So 5 navigational points. Now we have scholarships. Over on the left-hand side are different categories and so forth. But if you look here, high school, 324 scholarships for people who are in high school. Freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. And it's going to give you that list. It's thinking about loading here. And so here is the list in alphabetical order. All right. Behind the wheel scholarship. You know, and if you click on it, it gives you the information you need to see if you qualify to apply. So who's this scholarship for? Qualifications. Applicants must be currently enrolled in an accredited community undergraduate or graduate program within the United States. Applicants must have a GPA 3.0 or higher. There are a lot of high schools that have dual enrollment with some of the local community colleges. So they would qualify because they're currently enrolled, right? So let's go back. So you just, it tells you all the information that you need for those scholarships. So between FastWeb and Career One Stop, there are thousands of scholarships. And I guarantee you, I will put money on the table that your student will qualify to apply for a scholarship or grant. So let's close that out. Go back to ASVAB. Additional careers that might be associated with this particular career. So if this one's not quite cutting it, they can look at these related careers. So let's go back to the ASVAB dashboard. So here, explore work values. This is where you can go to find out what your work values are, what they mean, and so forth. This takes about 20 minutes to get through. You just click, let's get started. It's kind of like the interest inventory. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions to respond to. And then it's going to tell you which of these work values best suits you. So that's a good tool. It's another piece of information to find a matching career. We've done the search. So this is the link that takes you back to that search page for careers. If they save things to their favorites, this is where the list is at. Here are tools and resources for them to use to gather and organize information. This first one is My Portfolio. It's kind of like your high school resume. It's a good place to get started because it's going to ask a lot of the questions that you need to make decisions, create goals, create plans, apply for colleges, apply for scholarships, and so forth. Future plans, work experience, education. Oh, look at that. There's my ASVAB scores. I can add my ACT and I can add my SAT scores, achievements, skills, volunteer activities, my interest codes, work values, favorite occupations, favorite colleges, favorite military careers, favorite career clusters. So it's a good, starting point to start getting all that information together to start making some of those decisions. Okay. So now we're going to go back to our home page. So when you first go to ASVAB, this is what you're going to see. And there are different levels of information. So if you're a parent, you can click on the Parents tab. It's going to give you information about our program, so forth, bring the ASVAB to your school. We have these tutorial videos that explain your scores, explain the interest inventory, the occupying, which is the career search, and so forth, and how to use the tools and whatnot. If you, hold on, I got to move some of this stuff out of my way. Give me 1 second here. All right, if you click on resources up here at the top, this is where we pull a lot of our information. So, want to know what the program's all about? We have the overview guide right here. We have a fact sheet. Some of the, a couple of these things we do have in Spanish. We have the overview guide. This is the handout. It's sort of like the quick start guide once they get their scores back. Lots of information. This is an example of the score sheet that they receive hard copy. There's some information in here, for school counselors. There's the counselor's menu, some posters, sign-up cards, whatnot. Those 4 tutorial videos. And then down here, we have a lot of our tools and resource links and information. So, FastWeb, FAFSA, College Navigator, March to Success, the ONET Online, Bureau of Labor Statistics, Careers in the Military, Career One Stop, ASVAB, Seeing STEM in every day. These are student activities. So teachers or parents can say, hey, let's do some of these, my educational career plans. We'll look at that one real quick. So, here you have a PDF file, more about me, occupational, you're considering, after school plans. It's just a worksheet. If you need something to try to, put it in writing, what did you do? I learned a good, learn I like, I learn I dislike, and so forth. So lots of tools and resources and activities to do that whole career exploration piece. So at this time, I'm going to open it up for questions, and I'm going to leave this screen shared. That way, if I need to go to it to reference anything, I can. So I'll let Mr. Jenkins, I'll let you moderate the questions, and you can either read them to me or you can let people chime in, and I'll answer any questions people might have about our program, about the military, and so forth.
Great, thank you, sir. At this time, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Schmucker in regards to the ASVAB program? This was great in regards to all of the resources that are available. I didn't even know that a lot of this was available. Also, I didn't realize that utilizing the ASVAB for career exploration was there. I solely thought it was straight for the military, honestly. So I'm glad that we were able to get this information. So at this time, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Schmucker? Either come off mute, feel free to ask your question, or if you feel more comfortable at typing it and putting it in the chat, please do so. And we'll do more than everything that we can to make sure we get the answers to your questions. Anyone have any questions? Listen, I've done a lot of workshops and I've asked people for questions, and I've always learned that if they have no questions, I mean, you did a very thorough job in your presentation and explaining everything to them. So I'll take it that you did a good job, Mr. Schmucker.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I know there's a lot of information, and I always try to keep it to an hour or less, because otherwise I look back up at the screen and everybody's gone home. But, so in closing, let me go ahead and stop sharing this. Okay, so in closing, the ASVAB Career Exploration Program is a great tool to help students figure out what they're going to do after high school. If they want to look at the military, they can do that. It's a option. You can be a dental hygienist at your uncle's dental office downtown, or you can be a dental hygienist in the military, right? It's just a employer. It's a pathway. A lot of people get concerned that we're going to come in and cart their kids off to war. We're not going to do that. Not recruiters. You may see recruiters, but that's because they help in the program. They are not allowed to recruit during our program. They're there to assist us. Of course, your students are more than welcome to go up to them and ask them a direct question during test time. But it's a great resource. It's free. It doesn't cost a dime, just your time. I'm thinking about getting that put on a t-shirt, right? And you have access to all these tools and resources for 2 years once you take that first test. And every time you take the test, it restarts the clock. So if you wanted to take it as a sophomore, a junior, and a senior, you could if the school offers it. So that's the only catch, is it has to be offered through an education organization. That's a high school, a charter school, homeschool, Sunday school. If it's got school in the name, we'll do it. Okay. So that's not a problem. We just can't, come to your house and do it individually, unless you're a homeschooler and you've got, 3 or 4 of your fellow homeschool students there. And I've done that before. I had 5 testers. They were all in the same family. They were homeschooled. So we created their homeschool co-op, so to speak. And that's how we were able to do it. But it does have to be through an education facility, GED pros, colleges, career techs, community colleges. So if you've got a student, this is their first year in the community college and they don't know what they're going to do, get to school to offer us. We'll come in, we'll do it. It's free. We provide all the test materials. We provide people to administer the test. We allow the school to administer the test with certain requirements and restrictions, obviously. So the way it's kind of broken down is, this is sort of part 1, getting the information out there to people. Part 2 is the actual test. It's 3 hours at the school. Part 3 which is what you're really signing up for, is that career seminar. And that's where we go through everything I just kind of went through with you all. But the students are actually seeing their scores, are getting their interest codes, they're looking at careers they're interested in. And that piece, we try to keep to one class period. So 45 minutes of speaking is what I like to have minimum. I can do it shorter. I just have to cut some things out. A little bit longer, but up to an hour and a half, then, we're really digging into the weeds, and I got to prepare a lesson plan. But, generally one class period is what we try to keep it to, because we know students' time is valuable, schools' times are valuable, and we don't want to take them out of class more than what we have to. But it's also self-guided. Like I said, you get that post-test handout that gets you started. We have 4 tutorial videos to get you started. And then the instructions are there. Everything I pretty much tell them to do during my career seminar, the instructions are there on the website. They just don't get all my jokes. So that's the bad part, right? But, I encourage, parents and students, check it out, do it. What are you going to lose? Nothing but, a few hours of your time. And you would be surprised, even if you think you have it all figured out, you might get a little piece that completes the puzzle. I've had students go, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this career. I'm going to go to this school. Mom and dad's going to pay for it all. And then I say, well, if they're paying for it all and you got scholarship money left over, you get a check in most cases. Well, how do I find scholarships? That's when they start looking at FastWeb and Career One Stop. And so, they've got it all figured out except that money piece, right? But that's pretty much all I have, unless you have any specific questions and whatnot. I got an easy commute. It's walking around the corner. So I can be here as long as I needed to answer your questions. But this is something I wish I had in high school. And I will tell you that if you actually use the program, you're going to be satisfied with it, because you're going to get a lot of good information to make decisions.
Well, thank you,
So
Mr.
I'll turn it
Schmucker.
over back to you.
I want to appreciate you for taking the time to break everything down to us. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to share your information with our CTE director, because we do have a CTE program, and a lot of those students are in those programs specifically because they say they want to go into that field. But sometimes they get in there and it's not exactly what they thought it would be. So I think this would be great for you to talk about the program with him, so that we can get a good bulk of our students to participate and get some information, because everyone at the high school is not going to college, not because they can't, but because they choose not to. And so to get some information about specific careers and what they're going to do once they leave DeSoto High School, I think is going to be great. So we're going to make sure we're going to see you again, definitely. So I'm going to make sure we pass some information along.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. And on our website, if you scroll down and bring the ASVAB to your school, you click on that and you can submit a request to schedule it that way, or you can just shoot me an email and we get you taken care of. Like I said, you can test multiple times during the year if that best suits you. No worries. So you can only test once. You got to get all 500 kids tested at once.
Yeah.
South Grand Prairie, they probably have had a dozen tests this year for their 900 students to get them all through. Scott Christensen over there, if you're a senior and you haven't participated in the ASVAB, you don't get to go on the senior trip. So
interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of motivators out there that we've seen. That's one of them. Some teachers have given extra credit for those students that participate. Some teachers have assigned assignments that were graded. English teacher assigned a paper they had to write about their career choice. They had to have 3 references, and one of them had to be the ASVAB program, and that was a 25% of their semester grade, that paper they had to write. This was an English teacher. So
interesting. Okay. If you build it, they will come.
lots of different motivators, so but if you want me to come in and talk directly to the students during school hours, we'll do that. So
okay, we'll
just
see
let us know. We're here to support you.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what we can get together, because it is definitely information that our students and our faculty and staff could utilize. So
absolutely.
Well, again, thank you all. We are on time, and so we're going to let you go. I want to appreciate everyone for coming out, and this is recorded too, so we'll send it out. And so those parents who didn't get the opportunity to come on, then we'll make sure that they have that information and that resource. And so with that being said, I'm going to take you to church and say, listen, all minds clear. Hopefully everyone got some good information, and I'm hoping that everyone has a good evening, and we'll see you next time. So again, thank you, Mr. Schmucker. We definitely appreciate you, and you'll be hearing from us again.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate all that you do for your students. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Have a great evening.
All right. You too.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.